So today I'm going to talk about my book and some of the tips that are inside the book. So because it's set into a standard of 8 areas, we're going to go through this fairly fast, but hopefully you'll get an idea and you'll pick up a tip or two as we go through this. So I really feel like productivity isn't everything in life, but it affects everything we do and how we live. It is the measurement, the ROI, your return on your investment of your time, your money, and your energy. And those are the only things, when we really look at it, besides our attitude and our behavior, that we really truly have control over. So the book is basically done based on tips that I have shared with my community for the last 3.5 years. For those of you who are on that list, haven't gotten one in a while, hopefully this is going to spur me to get back to that. But as you know, other things have been on my plate. But basically, just to give people short, easy things that they could implement on a weekly basis and try and see if it would help them. Along with an action, I would give you a quote of the week and then also an affirmation. And I'll briefly explain what an affirmation is. Everybody knows what an affirmation is, right? We tell ourselves something because it's something we want, we don't have, but we want it, and we are then supposed to acquire that. And in some cases that works. But for the most of us, if it was, if I said, oh, I'm rich, first thing in head is my head trash would start saying, no, you aren't. Why would you say that? Right? But if I form that, and that's why it's called affirmations, I form that in the state of a question, why is my bank account so healthy? Or why do I have the money to afford to live the lifestyle I want? What happens is it triggers our mind to start thinking about how can I make that happen? Why is it so easy for me to do this or that? As if it's already happened, and it will trigger your mind to start finding and searching for the solutions. So that's what the base, and it's also a journal so that you can actually write how you read the action, how that affects you, and how you can implement it. So the first for the powerful, and basically that's the 8 sections is the powerful word. Productivity is about really working authentically. It's really about knowing who you are, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. A little bit about what Jim said today. It's about really finding out and knowing who you are, and it's knowing what's working for you. Just a prime example, little thing. I was in a workshop, and there was just a small group of us, and the facilitator had us do an exercise, and they turned on some music, nice, quiet, classical music. I enjoy that. That helps to keep me focused. The person next to me, I thought she was going to jump out of her skin. She just could not stand the music, and she's a very hyper, person, and you would think that would help calm her, but that would give her the totally opposite effect. So it's really understanding who we are, how we make decisions. Do we make them fast? Do we make them slow? Are we introvert, extrovert? How do we do processes? Are we a real process person? Or we just change and follow the next shiny thing? Those are things and details. Are we really detailed, or do we really care about the details? So knowing who you are and what works for you can make a huge difference. The O is about organization, being organized. Jim, again, talked about this morning about clutter. I look at clutter in 5 areas. So clutter, what we all think about is physical clutter. It's not just physical. We have our mental clutter that really can affect us and not take us where we want to go. We have our financial clutter that can be in the way, especially small business owners sometimes. We have digital clutter, and then we have social clutter. So making sure that we're around the people that give us energy and not take our energy. So one way that you can be a little bit better with your stuff and your physical clutter is about making a decision. You've all heard, touch a piece of paper once, right? Anybody ever heard that? Right. Well, that's only good for toilet paper and tissues, right? But what you can do is make a decision for it the first time. Right? So can I discard it? Yes or no? Can I delegate it? Yes or no? Can I just do it? 2 minutes or less, just do it. It's out of the way. Do I defer it for filing? And if you've gone through all those, what's left is there's got to be an action. So define what that action when you're going to do it. So that can help you keeping things going forward. The W is about willingness to do things differently. We learned a lot of things already this morning that we can do. What do you implement? What don't you implement? What do you do now? What do you do later? But the whole thing is about willing to try something different when we look at the things that aren't working for us. So we take a program, we come today, we learn a lot of stuff. So what do we do when we leave here? Do we take something and we try to implement it? Oh wow, it works. I'm doing really great. And then life sets in. You have a crazy day, and then we're right back to where we were before. And the key here is I want you to realize is that that's natural. Our brain is just taking us back to what we know. And so the key here is to remember to get back on. So when we teach our children how to ride a bike and they fall off, we don't say, well, you can't ride the bike any longer. You're no good, you fell off. But that's what we tell ourselves when we're trying to do something new. We tell ourselves, oh, see, that didn't work for me. I can't do that. But we haven't given ourselves time enough to learn and develop and turn it into a habit. And then basically email. Anybody get too much email? Right. Well, email is awesome. It's an awesome tool that we've been given, right? We can talk and chat to somebody across the world in seconds. Sometimes it takes longer to get through on the telephone than to do that, right? And that's awesome. But the key is it's been given to us, but we've never been taught how to use it or how to process it. So having a process to deal with your email is huge. So one little tip is what I say the BAB of email is basically be brief. We don't read emails anymore. We don't have time. We scan them. So be as brief as possible. Put your action up front so they know what you want. If you're a long-winded writer, you like to write, you like to give a lot of details, put that in the bottom, but up front, what do you need? Don't include mixed messages. Don't combine subjects, one subject per email. And then use bullets or numbers as much as possible. Making it easy for them to respond back to you and to give you the information that you need. Sometimes we're thinking about us, think about them. What is it going to make? Why is it going to make it easier for them to get us back the information we need? The R is about reducing procrastination. I mean, there's so many different reasons why we procrastinate. Fear, energy, not getting enough sleep, all those different things, right? But procrastination really is about, a lot of times we just don't want to do something because we don't like it. Anybody been there? Right. Okay. So I like to do the 5-minute rule. So, okay, I'm going to work on this for 5 minutes. I get done with the 5 minutes, I can stop, right? I've done what I said I'm going to do, and I did it. And that gives you positive energy. But when we say we're going to work on something for half an hour and we don't, that gives us negative energy. So we want to keep it positive. So say 5 minutes. You're into it. You start working, oh, this is no bad. I'll add 5 minutes. So then you go to 10 minutes, right? Get through that. You're working, and then either you're going to stop or you're not. You work the 10 minutes, stop, go on to something else. At least you've gotten that far. You've gotten 15 minutes, right? Or you then say, really, I'm starting to get into this. I'm going to work the next 5. So then you add 15. So at the end of that, you've done 30 minutes when you started off to do 5 minutes, and you're going to get that project or that thing that you don't really want to do, you're going to get it moved forward. Focus. Focus is so important. And it's about, planning, it's about looking at interruptions, it's about distraction, it's about really trying to find out, how can we stay focused. One of the things that I found that's really worked, and I think I've talked about this before, but it's a program, it's an app, it's called Focus at Will. But when I turn that on, and I don't know what it is about that music, but I can just say focus, and I can get so much more done when I have that going on. Also, I want you to look at your prime time. We all have a prime time when we need to be working on mental stuff. Maybe that's first thing in the morning. It is for me, or late at night when I get that second wind. But, some people it's, late afternoon. So it's about really finding that prime time. Then the opposite of that is downtime, what I call downtime. So downtime can be looked at two ways. It's taking a break just to kind of give you that mental break from what you're doing, but also look at it as it can be a time that you shut off all electronics. You turn off the phone, do not disturb, you don't look at your email, and you just take that 45 minutes to 90 minutes and work on that project that you've needed to move forward. But it's about cutting off all that other communication so that you can have that time and work forward towards it. And then the utilization. So utilization of your time, energy, and money. It's really important that we look at how we're using that because they all flow and work together. So time, energy, and money is huge. One of the ways that you can utilize it is we do have so many meetings. And for those of you who know, I've had a lot of meetings in the last 8 months. Sitting in doctor's offices and waiting for a lot of different tests. But having something with you, if you get magazines, I don't even get magazines anymore. I have no subscriptions. If I want something, I buy it for that particular thing. But the nice thing about it is that if you do, flip through it really fast, tear out those articles you want to read, get rid of the rest of the magazine, and carry those with you. But have something with you that will make it easier for you to just get through some of that reading. We all have so much reading that we need to do. Thank you, Bill. So I just call it rip and read. But carry enough, a folder with you is a great way of just getting some of that little stuff done. And then the L for leveraging resources. Again, technology can be a huge resource for us. Delegation can be another. Jim had talked about it earlier, about really giving people things to do and letting them do it. I can't express how important that is. Letting people, because they bring a different skill set than you do. Let them utilize that skill set and not be the micromanager or the one that has to look at the whole process. So the key here is anybody ever done a jigsaw puzzle? We all have, right? So what happens if I give you the jigsaw puzzle, but I don't give you the top of the box and you can't see the pictures? But that's what we do a lot of times when we delegate. We don't give them the picture. We don't give them the top of the box so they don't know what it is. So the key to delegation, if it's outsourcing, if it's our own employees, virtual, or a partner, is make sure everybody understands the goal. If they can see the same picture you can see, they're going to get there probably a lot faster than you will in their own way. So we talked about productivity style, organization, willingness to do things differently, email, overload, reduction of procrastination, which is a huge one, focus, utilization, and leveraging your resources. Any questions?
The rip and read suggestion is a great suggestion, and I have a recommendation for a tool for digital ripping and reading. So every day at a set time, I'll go through the various resources, the industry newsletters and so forth, not with the intent of carving out an hour to read a bunch of stuff, but with the intent to rip and read. I use an app called Instapaper. And what it does is when you see a web page, either on the desktop or on mobile, you can do a save as or share to Instapaper. It makes a text-only, super clean version of that content, saves it to your account on the cloud. If you have it set this way, it will download a copy of it to your machine, very low space. And so then when it's actual reading time, you have this whole pile of clippings that are super easy to read that you can read offline for airplanes or traveling or at lunch or whatever the case. It's a fantastic tool for that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that,
Instapaper.
Tom.
Thank you.
That's super.
Cathy, you said when you do your affirmations, you use the why question. do you ever use the how question? In other words, and how is that different?
I have not. I've just been trained to use the why, but I think the how would give you the same type of effect. The how is, I guess, a little bit more that I don't know how. The why is, why am I doing this? Is that you're already in that mode. But what happens to our brain is it goes back and it searches through what our experiences have been, and it tries to find out what can it relate to what you're trying to accomplish, and it starts bringing things up that you've totally forgotten about.
Okay, so say hypothetically someone had 2,000 to 3,000 emails in their inbox that had been accumulating for a little while and they needed to organize them. I mean, what do you recommend? Because it takes so long to mark those, look at them. I mean, how can I clear that out and get a fresh start?
Great question. So the best thing to do, because when I do work with somebody, it is overwhelming to go through all that old stuff. Most of the time it's already been responded to in some way, either from another email or it's beyond hope or whatever. But some people just can't let those go. So I suggest you make a folder, you drag them all and put them in there. And you start off with a clean inbox. Keep your new inbox clean and slowly go through that folder. But what it does is if you're trying to clean it up and new stuff's piling up, it just gets too overwhelming. And by moving it out, starting a new strategy, it will make it a lot easier.
So I'm a big student of Cathy's, and I've worked with her for a number of years. So Cathy, I thought you'd be interested in knowing this. I have a family that I coach, and so the whole family is going to a workshop, and they were assigned 5 modules to work with, and they were 3-hour sessions, and they were 15 hours of study. So just this week, two of the kids came to me and said, so how do I do this? I haven't got 15 hours. I said, here's what you do. Set 1 hour for each module, and guess what? You'll be able to do it in 1 hour. And they're like, oh, okay. So, I mean, I think a lot of times we don't think about the fact that we don't have to do everything perfectly. And they bought right into it, and I'm sure that they have more peace of mind. But it was just a different variation of your 5-minute rule. And I think it really worked out well.
We're just so overwhelmed, especially when things are big or our projects are big, and we look at it and we avoid it because of that. Just give it, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half hour.
Cathy, how can we get a hold of your book?
You can get a hold of my book. Well, 2 things. I have them here if you want to take it with you. Otherwise, if you go to my website, you can probably get it for free just for shipping. So the price is shipping. So thank you for asking. Well, okay, 1 more minute. Anybody else? And I think Lori had something too.
Cathy, you were talking about fighting our nature and not doing that sort of thing. What are some of the suggestions you have for people to get them to look at things differently, whatever that task might be, so that it fits their nature more effectively?
Well, if you're struggling with it, there's probably a better way for you to be doing it. So that's the number one thing. The easiest way is that I do an assessment with people to help them understand that how they feel and what they need are natural. So if you make decisions really fast or you're really slow making decisions, knowing that gives you the okay that this is what I need to be doing. And when we work in our natural productivity style, it just reduces stress and makes things easier for us. But it's really what is not working, and then look at those things is where I'd start. And then just pick one and say, okay, I need to find a better way. What seems natural for me to really do this my way?
Cathy, one of the things I had was about your book too, so thank you, Will, for bringing that up. But the other thing I wanted to just reiterate is you talked about, the learning to ride a bike. And that's so true because I've worked with Cathy. She has helped me greatly in being more productive and delegating and that sort of thing within my organization. And one of the things I've learned is it's really hard to change those habits, and you have to keep it front of mind. And it's okay, to fall down on that, but just to remember what you've learned, remember those processes you went through, and get back to it. Because what I have found is, although I still fall down several times, I find that each time I get back up, it's easier to fall back into that process. It's easier to maintain it. and you begin falling down a lot less as time moves on because you get into that habit. You reprogram your mind to be doing those. So thanks for bringing that up, and it's completely true. I just wanted to thank you for everything you've done for my business.
Thank you for that answer, because that's exactly what I would have said. So, okay, I guess that's all. Thank you.